why are Indians going for the golden visa?
More and more Indians today can buy a golden visa.
Isn't that good?
No, it's not good. It's just that they have money, so they're buying.
Haan, to chalega na.
So,
how did they make money? They made money here, no?
Yes. And then they're going off.
Yeah.
Arey Baba, I mean, I want the rich of this country, the elite, the intellectual,
to stay on.
To stay and invest in the future of this country. 1.4 odd billion.
448 billion or something like that.
Yes.
तो अगर बाहर जा रहे हैं तो जाए ना.
No, 1.4 billion doesn't make any difference. It's your 5% elite. It's a 1% elite. It's the highest educated, the out-migration of them and of your millionaires. 23,000 millionaires have left India in the last 10 years. Please.
Isn't it a very small number? That's what I'm just
I'm
wondering.
sorry.
Is it? Because your book says it is big.
You don't compare it with 1.4 billion. You compare it with the 4 million taxpayers.
What is the solution, Dr. Baru, today, like in 2025? Should we just say, tum bahar nahi jaoge?
The Prime Minister who said ease of living, mission for ease of living. I want to know what is it the government can do in the next 4 years of its term.
I want ease of living for people who want to stay here. I don't want ease of living as a carrot for people not to leave the country.
No,
तुमको जाना है निकलो यार यहाँ से.
I'm sorry. तुमको जाना है निकलो तो कैसा भी जा रहा है.
Get out. None of the middle-class folk who cheered Modi in London, Houston or elsewhere around the world seem interested in returning to Modi's Bharat. Their nationalism is restricted to raising slogans hailing the motherland while being happily settled overseas.
You have pride in my country, why are you not in my country?
Kids are in school, their wives have jobs, so the woman should just leave her family, come back and build India because she said Bharat Mata ki jai.
You are talking about Bharat Mata. तो उसका जय जय कर रहे तो न्यू जर्सी में बैठ के क्यों कर रहे हो भाई?
The audience at Miss Irani's event at austerely dutifully reported by BJP's favorite news agency, Asian News International. So why the snark, Dr. Baru? Why favorite
that's
news
how you've
agency?
Seen, Smita.
Explain to me, covering a Prime Minister is something which is a duty of a news agency? PTI does it, ANI does it, UNI did it, Varta did it, everybody does it, right? Because the Prime Minister speaks. When the Prime Minister speaks, then the opposition leader speaks.
I know, Smita, but I think...
This is not even Prime Minister, this is Smriti Irani.
No, Smita, that is a perception.
No, dutifully, I'm not letting you go.
I know.
No,
you don't have to let me go, but I'm repeatedly telling you, this is the perception.
So this is hearsay?
No, it's not hearsay. That is the widespread perception.
Is it your perception or is it...
It's a media perception.
Media. Namaste, Jai Hind. You're watching or listening to another edition of the NR podcast with Smita Prakash. My guest today is a former journalist and media advisor to the former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh. Dr. Sanjaya Baru is also a well-respected author. His most famous book is The Accidental Prime Minister, a memoir of Dr. Singh written in 2014, which got made into a film in 2019. Dr. Baru has written several articles and books from then on, but that book on Dr. Singh still gets talked about. His recent book, Secession of the Successful, The Flight Out of New India, is about the fourth wave of migrations from India, where thousands of wealthy and highly educated Indians are choosing to emigrate due to various reasons, because of a better quality of life or, as he says, dissatisfaction with the governance in India. The social and political upheavals today, which he says they don't want to be a part of. Dr. Baru, thank you so much for being part of the podcast. Read your book with interest. The other book which I've read of yours was, of course, Accidental Prime Minister. I was very upset when the movie got made.
Not a good movie.
Yes and no, in the sense that those of us, of course, I didn't know Dr. Manmohan Singh as well as you did. Nobody knew him as well as you did. But somehow felt not okay about it. Of course, Anupam Kher acted very well, so that was a different thing altogether. But the film itself, I felt unfair. But then anyway, I don't want to talk about that book in the beginning. Let's talk about this book of yours.
Incidentally, I've written 2 books since then.
Since then, I know. I said that in the introduction.
I've written on Narasimha Rao, 1991.
Yes. Yeah.
And one called The Power Elite.
Yes.
Yeah.
both those books, but I haven't read those two. I've read that one and I've read this one. And you begin with a quote from Dr. Manmohan Singh, 2005. Allow me to read it out. You say, "It used to be said that the sun never sets on the British Empire. But if there is today one phenomenon on which the sun cannot set, it's the world of people of Indian origin." Dr. Singh is one of those who was not part of any of the waves of secession. You've written out here in your book about the four waves. He was not part, he educated, highly educated, but he came back. You came back. You were in Singapore. You came back to India, decided not to live abroad, but to come back. Both of you, Dr. Singh as well as you, didn't leave because of any distress situation and didn't come back because there were better opportunities here. It just, life happened. My question to you is, why do you begin with a person who came back rather than leave?
Well, first of all, I think the importance of that quote is to draw attention to the fact that there is a huge population of overseas Indians. So the phenomenon itself is historical, is there for a long time, because of which there are Indians all the way from Fiji in the Pacific to the Hawaii in the Pacific on the other side, and right through the Indian Ocean and the Atlantic. So I think I begin by saying that, look, out-migration or emigration of Indians has been a historical phenomenon. Having said that, my book focuses on three waves of migration. And I emphasize the word waves because these were significant numbers. The one in the 19th century with the indentured labor, secondly, the migration of the workers, Gulf workers, and then of the professionals, the IT professionals and other professionals. And the numbers are in their thousands, right? So it's not just a few people going back and forth, but the numbers are in their thousands. Yeah. The fact that, since you talked about Dr. Singh coming back, I mean, I was out only for a year, but he went to do his PhD and then he was working. He was working in UNCTAD. And there's a lovely quote from him, which I have in my book, where he said that when he told the head of UNCTAD that he's going back as a professor at the Delhi School of Economics, at the invitation of Professor Raj, Rahul Prabish, who was the head of UNCTAD, said to him, "Oh, what a foolish thing to do. You're leaving an international job to go back as a professor." And then he added, "But sometimes in life it's wise to be foolish." And I draw attention to that fact because in the first part of my book, I refer to the phenomenon which we associate with the 50s and even the 60s of Indians who are living outside coming back. Distinguished Indians, Homi Bhabha, Vikram Sarabhai, Manmohan Singh himself or K. N. Raj. These are all people who had international degrees, foreign degrees, international opportunities, and yet came back. And I'm saying that was a different period. Today, you do not see that kind of return migration of such people of eminence. So that's the context in which I mentioned this.
Okay. You talk about these three waves or these three phases where the migrations happen. And you're saying that the fourth phase, which is currently on, we'll go into the reasons why the fourth phase is happening. And you say that you can't see that those kind of people. Is it that they were so few and hence eminent, or they achieved eminence? When they came back, they were not eminent. They achieved eminence later, in the sense of they had their degrees there, then they worked out here, became eminent. So you said, okay, these were the guys who came back. The ones who came later, UNDP says that 415 million Indians have come out of multi-dimensional poverty in the past 15 years. Do you think that we could have achieved all this if people who went abroad, got educated, got their degrees, got their education, came back, set up businesses out here and pulled out people from their poverty? You don't see that happening?
Well, it could happen. But, my focus is not so much on how many jobs people who come back create. My concern is about brain drain. These people who came back even earlier, they were people of eminence. I mean, Manmohan Singh had already acquired eminence when he was a student as an Adam Smith winner. Homi Bhabha was already well known as a nuclear physicist. So there were people of distinction who came back. And I think what my concern is more about brain drain and capital flight. What we have seen in the recent past, particularly last 20, 30 years, is increasing out-migration of talented Indians, right? Working class Indians have gone out and searching for jobs for a long, long time. Of course, it's a depletion of manpower, but still, there are enough Indians back home. But when highly trained people go overseas and don't return, that creates a problem, and that is what I'm drawing attention to.
Okay. And I'm quoting, this is how I do books, by the way. I keep quoting. Okay. So the fourth phase, which you say, it's still in the early stages. And you talk about migration of children of wealthy as well of high net worth individuals, HNIs, who are politically and socially powerful and influential elite. And these are privileged Indians who are getting out. The first wave was enforced, you say. The second wave and the third waves were in search of opportunity. The fourth wave, which is currently on, Dr. Baru says, is Secession of the Successful. And that's the title of the book in which you say this. So you are concerned about this. And in many places you say that these talented Indians are emigrating because the incompetence and inequality of governance at home. That bothers you. So in what way is it the incompetence that you're talking about now? You don't think it's because you have stated in other parts in the book that it's because if they want a better way of life. They went to college in America and they like that living in suburbia. They like the suburban life. They like their big cars. They like all that. They want continuous power supply. They want all that and they miss that, the third generation.
Sure.
Right? So they go back. So both those things are happening, right?
Both those things are happening. But when I talk about the push factors, about incompetence of government, for example, just to give you a stark example. In fact, after the book was finished, I read a very interesting interview of Venkatesh Ramakrishnan, a Nobel Prize winner in economics, a physics Nobel Prize winner, who gave an interview to The Hindu, in which he makes the point that a lot of scientists in the US are leaving the United States because of Donald Trump, because of fund cuts to scientific institutions. And he said, I wish India could attract them. Many of them are looking for jobs outside. They're going to Europe. I wish India could attract them. But the problem in India is that most of our scientific research institutions have become highly bureaucratic and are no longer in a position to attract scientists who want freedom of research, space, etc. Now, that is in a sense, incompetence of government, that you're not able to attract talent which is looking for opportunities back home. The second thing you talk about, Indians finding life overseas comfortable. Of course, life, this has always been a factor. Incidentally, even in the 19th century, when poor people were being taken away to indentured labor, to Mauritius. And, today many people blame the British government for all of this. But if you look at the record, and I've quoted some of that record, many of them were leaving because they thought life there would be better, right? It did not prove to be better, but it is the hope of better life. And almost all emigration takes place because of the hope of better life. Now, what does that mean for policy at home? And I quote towards the end of my book the Prime Minister himself, Prime Minister Modi, in his August 15th speech last year, August 2024.
Ease of living.
Talked about a national mission for the ease of living. That's it. That is what you have to focus on. Make it easier to live in India for those who feel that's easier to live outside. And, you might be creating ghettos, you might be creating gated communities of these highly talented people, but I think it's necessary to bring them back in order to recharge science research, in order to recharge academic work. We need to build new institutions. And I think that is a challenge, and I'm glad the Prime Minister recognized it, but I think that government should now follow it up with action.
The Prime Minister mentioned it in his 15th August speech, but then this is work in progress for several years, right? Even when I got out of college, there was this talk when everybody was leaving abroad because it was better life, better opportunities. So those who could afford an education abroad or whose parents could fund it for you, they went abroad. It's a better way of life, better. And even at that time, there was brain drain. There was, even at that time, you had to get a special permit if you were a super specialist doctor who had done surgery or he had studied at AIMS or something. You needed a NOC before you could go abroad. So there was this fear of brain drain even then. And people wanting to leave. You mentioned America. In fact, that political economist Robert Reich, he used it in the 1990s about wealthy Americans disengaging in public life, moving to gated communities, sending their children to private schools. So this is something that has happened worldwide, no, globally. What is it about India in 2020s that worries you is different from what happened in 1990s?
Well, first of all, Reich, and I quoted him, in fact, in my previous book, Power Elite.
Yeah.
That is where this title of the book comes from. The last chapter of my previous book was Secession of the Successful, and then a lot of people asked me to elaborate
Expand
on it.
on
So
that.
this book comes out of that. He was talking about within a society, right? Like even in India, it happens that the elite kind of go into gated communities, private security, private electricity, private water, everything is privatized and you live in your own cocoon. But that's not what I'm referring to. I'm referring to, you use the word brain drain. Now, the concern that this book expresses is that when brain drain began in the 70s and 80s, it was a problem that engaged economists. It was a problem that engaged policymakers. I mean, Jagdish Bhagwati, I've quoted all of them. Jagdish Bhagwati, Dandekar, a whole lot of people were doing research on why is this happening, what should we do to prevent it. In other words, policymakers were focused on it. Unfortunately, today we are no longer focused on it. We now take it as, yeah, it happens all over the world, it's happening in India, but we are not recognizing it as a problem that more and more, and the numbers are rising. I mean, I quoted from the data given by government in parliament. The numbers are rising. 23,000 millionaires. 18 lakh Indians have given up citizenship in the last 10 years. Now, these are all parliament answers. Now, I think this should worry us.
Why?
And, well, I think because we are still a developing country. We are a low middle income economy. We are aspiring to be Viksit Bharat. You cannot become Viksit Bharat without a much more aggressive push into science and technology. Our R&D spending as a share of GDP is very, very low compared to many other industrializing economies. So there's a lot of homework for us to do. And if you're creating talent coming out of your good schools and not able to retain them because they're all going out and finding life is better, I'm going to stay there. And, this is an elite phenomenon that today, as I mentioned in the book, across sectors, whether it's business or government or diplomacy or politicians or academia, across sectors, the next generation is increasingly going out. And I ask this question, what happens when those who are today decision makers, move on? What is their stake? Because none of their children are coming back. So I think there is a serious challenge of...
No, let me interrupt you on this. If their children are not coming back, you're presuming that the bureaucrat of today is doing his job to make a better India for his children. Isn't there a larger goal?
I'm not
So even
presuming.
if
All
his
I'm
children
saying
are not
is
here.
if it's a class phenomenon, I'm not talking about individuals. What I'm saying is when a whole social class you find across the board, and these numbers are rising. When you find an entire social class seceding in this, that's the reason I use the title Secession of the Successful. I think we need to sit up and ask, why is this happening and how can we prevent? That is the objective of my book, to get people to ask the question. Instead of simply saying, yeah, people are going, it happens all over the world. No, it happens all over the world. But why is it's happening in India, and what is it we can do to prevent that? Because we need this talent in this country. Ultimately at the end of the day, the elite are just 5% of their country. The taxpayers in India, for example, if you take that as a measure of the national elite, are 5%. In a 1.4 billion people country. So if in that 5% more and more are leaving, That should concern government.
Suppose I talk about, okay, what you're saying about what will happen if the children of the elite leave, right? My generation, children of the elite left. They went abroad. They became doctors, engineers, whatever. They left because of the jobs thing. Some left behind. I remember even then, you're talking about 25 years ago, even then this talk was that, oh my God, the elite's children have gone. So now who's going to join the bureaucracy? Who's going to join the forge? They're going to come from Mofussil towns of India. They're not people like us.
No, I'm not talking about people like us.
It happens, Dr. Baru.
It's not about people like us. It's about the educated. It can be from official towns. It can be from small town India. We are creating a lot of high educated people.
Yeah.
You go to the IITs today, it's not the elite in the IIT. A lot of young, bright young people from, Kendriya Vidyalayas, government schools. Once you have educated them, this country has to utilize them.
Okay.
You created talent.
Businesses their manufacturing hasn't met up to hasn't scaled enough in this country, or we haven't created enough businesses to use those engineers, use those doctors, haven't made enough businesses to keep that. Do you not educate your public? Just because this has not increased doesn't mean that this can't increase, no?
No, this is increasing and leaving. I mean, look, recently...
Because this is not. So this has to happen.
But that's the challenge.
Correct.
That's the challenge. Recently, the Foreign Minister Jaishankar launched a private initiative called GATI, Global Access to Talented Indians, GATI.
Yeah.
And I raised this question. Why should the government be encouraging a private initiative like this? I can understand, people like Sanjeev Bikhchandani and Manish Sabharwal and others who are associated with this initiative. The private sector, they want to, create opportunities for talented Indians to go abroad. Why should government be encouraging this? The government's job should be to actually encourage talented Indians who are outside India to come back. And that's what...
Well, if this is wrong, then why should that be right?
Because India needs talent. We are a developing country.
What you're saying is that we have more than enough talent.
No, we do not. We do not. Look at our scientific institutions. Look at our universities. Some of the best universities are understaffed. IITs are understaffed.
So we have talent here. One hand, we have talent and we have to retain them. Otherwise, they are running abroad. But at the same time, you're saying that there is a lot of talent who left from here we should bring back. We can't absorb the talent which we already have.
Exactly. That's the challenge. So once you recognize that you're unable to absorb the talent, then you ask yourself the question, what can I do at home to absorb this talent rather than simply see them leaving or even encourage them to leave?
So if they go abroad, see, why can't we be that human resource capital? China does that, right? Why can't we be that human resource capital that, you want... I'm not just saying engineers and doctors, healthcare professionals. Europe needs physiotherapists. Yes, we also need physiotherapists. There's lack of physiotherapists here. We've got physiotherapists. Take our physiotherapists. If our hospitals can pay better salaries, the salary of a physiotherapist in some of the best hospitals in this country is 20,000 rupees to maximum 40,000 rupees a month. That's all. Because there's so many physiotherapists available. If they can get a job in Europe, if they can get a job in Dubai, now you're talking about talented people. Now Maharashtra calls them doctors also now. If they go to Europe and if government of India can facilitate them getting jobs rather than sitting unemployed or underemployed, why not?
Well, my view is that your job, meaning the government's job, is to address the challenge of those who are sitting here, educated, trained, talented, and underemployed or unemployed. That is a challenge. That why is it that you are not able to provide? After all, you are still a low, middle income developing economy.
I mean, I'm one of those who likes the idea of Gati. Let me put it this way. I just feel that if the government can facilitate so many people who have the qualification, but they don't know how to get those jobs abroad. If the government can get into facilitation of those people to go abroad, improve, I just see them not just one generation improving their lifestyle, they send remittances. They help their siblings get a job. Dr. Baru, I don't know whether you spent any of your childhood in a village. Summer holidays, I'm sure you went to Andhra.
Yes.
You remember when you were in villages, you would see, I'm talking about in the 70s probably, you saw those areas as saying, everybody saying, that is the Mopla area, that is the Mohammedan area. The houses were decrepit. Then that migration that you talk about, look, those guys came back, they got pakka housing.
See, first of all, Smita.
You remember?
I make a distinction in the book between labor migration. I have a whole chapter on labor migration.
I read, yes.
And Indian policy on this has been continuously from the time the creation of the World Trade Organization. India has had a policy of encouraging labor migration because we are not able to absorb that labor. That's different from brain drain and wealth drain, which are the two things I'm worried about.
Right. When I talk wealth drain, I'm with you.
So when I talk of brain drain, after all, even skilled labor is brain drain, right? You train an engineer and then if goes off to Gulf, you have an electrician and he goes off to Gulf, you have a shortage of good electricians. I mean, I don't know if how recently you've tried to get something repaired at home or built at home.
Our office, we need engineers all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in Hyderabad trying to get work done at home. Anyone you talk to say the best guys are all in the Gulf, right?
You're now talking like your NRI relatives of the 70s. Do you remember them complaining?
What I'm saying is that flight of labor has been there for 40, 50 years and we have an official policy of encouraging labor migration.
Right.
All our trade agreements have been about what we call comprehensive economic partnership agreement, which means not just export of goods, but export of labor services, etc., and all these H-1B. My focus is more narrowly on brain drain, which is really the cream of your education system. And I've recorded the number of schools coming up at the undergraduate level. I mean, really, when you come out of class 12, you're 16, 17, and the most impressionable years of your life, you're going away abroad to study, and no chance of those people want you to come back because, as you said yourself, you taste the good life outside. Why do you want to come back and live in polluted New Delhi, right? So that is a challenge. Second challenge is of the flight of capital. And incidentally, I was very happy to see the Ministry of Finance in its monthly report 2 months back draw attention to this. So they recognize this is a problem. It's not as if the government doesn't recognize the problem. Finally, there is a reference to the fact that investment going out of India is now more than investment coming into India. Now, I've been writing this for the last several years, but now the Ministry of Finance has recognized that. So all I'm asking the government and the policy makers and the readers of my book is to say, look, we know there's a problem, which nobody else is talking about. I mean, nobody has written this book till now, right? So I'm drawing attention to the problem of elite emigration. By elite, I mean the intellectual elite as well as the financial elite, the rich and the educated, leaving this country. It's not good for a developing country. We are a developing country. We want to become a developed country. Viksit Bharat by 1947. We cannot afford this flight.
Let me see. I'm being the contrarian every time to just to get it out.
I have no problem with that.
So
I've been a debater through school, from my school days.
Infosys wouldn't have happened if he didn't come back. Nilakani came back. The Ambani earlier generation, both Mukesh and Anil came back. Mukesh and Anil's kids come back. They set up. In every field, you wouldn't have technology, finance, healthcare, e-commerce, anything that you talk. These are all headed and begun by people who got their education abroad and decided to come back.
Correct.
So they came back despite the pollution, despite flooding of our roads, despite flyovers taking decades to happen, despite tax terrorism, despite demonetization, despite everything, they decide to come back.
Absolutely correct.
Right.
Correct. That's what I'm saying. That there were people who actually did come back.
Some of them have come back.
But the numbers going out is far, far more. I mean, for every Nandan who's come back, we have Sunil Mittal's 2 sons living in London. And I can give you any number of examples.
Also, the Mittals have diversified and become a global company. तो वो अपने बच्चों को बाहर भेजते हैं, वहाँ पे बैठते हैं.
Here we are with a share of manufacturing and national income stuck at 17% for 25 years. And two successive governments, both the Manmohan Singh government and the Narendra Modi government, officially said our objective is to increase the share of manufacturing from 17% to 25%.
Like I
but
said,
you don't meet that objective, and your industry is investing outside. Now, at least I'm glad the finance ministry is recognizing this as a problem. Why are Indian businessmen investing more outside India?
You also have a problem with the golden visa thing, that why are Indians going for the golden visa?
No, I don't have a problem.
Okay.
All I'm saying is more and more Indians today can buy a golden visa. That is the...
Isn't that good?
No, it's not good. It's just that they have money, so they're buying.
To chalega na.
So,
how did they make money? They made money here, no?
Yes. And then they're going off.
Yeah.
Baba, I mean, I want the rich of this country, the elite, the intellectual,
to
stay and invest in the future of this country. If they become symbols of success, and we think that every Indian who's left India as a symbol of success, who will stay here to build this new India that we want to build?
The Delhi Darbar that you talk about, and I'm quoting from this, you says that Singapore has attracted more of the professional upper middle class and children of the power elite, while Dubai has attracted more of the business elite. All of them, and this is an interesting part in the book, and you guys must buy this book because it talks about the different types of Indians. In Dubai, those who have gone to Dubai, the new ones, who in the past 5-6 years, those who've gone to Dubai and those who've gone to Singapore, they're two different kinds. All of them are running away from the Delhi Darbar, which is now increasingly arbitrary, intrusive, opaque, and manned by a bureaucracy that has its roots in less developed small towns and conservative Hindu India. Let's go one by one. Why do you see this as arbitrary, intrusive, and opaque, the current Delhi Darbar? Delhi Darbar bole to bureaucracy, or no?
Well, bureaucracy, political class, everything. I mean, I'm not saying it. The Prime Minister of India in his Independence Day speech said, we want a mission for the ease of living. What do you say? What do you mean by ease of living? Making it easier to live in this country. And have a government that doesn't ask you to get a KYC every other month, banking system, right? And the whole complication of getting anything done, selling a flat, buying a flat, I mean, changing home, getting a new gas connection, this day-to-day issues.
Agree. It's a pain. Agree.
Pain.
Totally.
So that is what we have to focus on.
Were you in this country in the 1970s?
I was in this country from 1954.
Right. Do you remember in the 1970s, even for a doctor to get an MRI machine into this country?
Of course.
What a pain it was.
We have come a long way. But we have regressed. That's the problem.
And Dr. Manmohan Singh, and Narasimha Rao, two individuals on whom you've written books, responsible for a large extent.
Yes. So, Smita, the point I'm making is we progress towards making both ease of business and ease of living. There was a progressive movement since 1990. But what we have seen in the recent past is a regression. And after all, the finance minister herself...
How is it a regression?
The finance minister herself has admitted this in the budget speech this year when she said the government is setting up a committee for deregulation.
Okay.
That means you are concerned that there is over-regulation. Otherwise, why will you promise to set up a committee for deregulation? I'm told the committee has already been formed. So I'm saying those are the issues to be addressed. Who does this over-regulation? Who is making SEBI such a difficult institution for businesses to deal with? Or any other government.
So in the past 11 years, there's been over-regulation as compared to the previous years?
Well, I'm not dating it to 11 years certainly, but I'm saying in the recent past.
Delhi Darbar, what you insinuate?
In the recent past, we've seen, after all, some of these regulatory institutions were created even by the previous government. But there has been increasing intrusiveness. You talk to any businessman. There has been increasing intrusiveness. I mean, Bibek Debroy wrote a whole lot of books and articles, poor fellow, before he passed away, on the number of stupid laws.
Yeah.
And I know many of them have been repealed, right? Many of them have been repealed. But many are still there.
Still around. I agree with that. Please make it easier to live in India. Get rid of some of the archaic laws. I think steps are being taken, but not fast enough.
So I'll give you one example. Just
go ahead.
Just top of my mind right now. I was in Bangalore, which is your part of the world.
My neck of the woods. Yes. Okay.
Namma Bangalore.
Namma Bangalore. Yes.
I was in Bangalore day before yesterday, and speaking to a group of alumni of my school, Hyderabad Public School, Bangalore alumni, right? Okay. This group. And there was one of them stood up and said that he has a PhD from MIT. And, he said in the early part of this century, 2005, 2006 period, he said, I suddenly felt, that India was taking off and things were happening. So I gave up my job in the US and came back. And, I've done reasonably well. I don't have any regrets. But today, I'm unable to convince people whom I know in the US that they should also come back. And is it because there's a feeling that things have become more difficult. Now, these are the kind of things, when you hear them, you ask yourself, what is it that has made it more difficult? Maybe partly it is that things have become more difficult here, but I think partly, and that's the phenomenon I draw attention to, it's easier to emigrate. You can buy citizenship. People are buying citizenship of Portugal and Cyprus and, so it's become easier to go out. You have the money to buy these visas. And that is something that should worry us. I mean, if you think it need not worry us, then...
there is very little data available on the number of NRIs coming back. But since you were been in Bengaluru, N number of people coming back, like the guy you talked to on, the MIT guy that you spoke. Several of my relatives, my sons have come back after studying abroad, working abroad for MNCs. They decide to come back. They want, for various reasons. And of course, if I say this, somebody will say, oh, you're the elite. The conversation is about the elite, right? So many I know who are coming back for various reasons. A major reason is healthcare. That is available in India. You want to get a cataract surgery, if you have the money, you can just go and get it, right? For a fraction of the cost of what it will cost in America. In America, even if you have insurance, even if you have the money, you cannot just walk into a hospital and get a surgery done. So healthcare is a major reason why they're coming back.
Smita, I know people also. First, 2 points. First of all, I wish the government puts out this data as they do, putting out data of those who are leaving. Yeah. We now have the numbers of those who are leaving.
We don't have it.
People coming back you have anecdotes, I have anecdotes, etc. But as far as healthcare is concerned, I know any number of people come to India for an operation, go back. You don't have to return home.
Yeah, the route is usually route canal that they're coming for.
You don't need to give up your job in the US and take a job in India, they don't do that. Yeah. They just take leave, come here, get the operation done, whatever the operation, and go back. You're right, healthcare costs are lower. But that is not issue. I think we need to understand that, I agree people do come back, but the numbers are vastly different.
Agreed.
Of those who are leaving as those who are coming back.
We have 5 billion now? 4 billion?
1.4 odd billion.
4.8 billion or something like that.
Yes.
So, agar bahar ja rahe hain, to jaye na.
No, 1.4 billion doesn't make any difference. It's your 5% elite. It's a 1% elite. It's the highest educated, the postgraduates, the PhDs in physics, in biochemistry, biotechnology, the scientists, the engineers, it's the outmigration of them and of your millionaires. 23,000 millionaires have left India in the last 10 years, right? So I'm talking of this really...
Isn't it a very small number? That's what I'm just wondering. Sorry. Is it? Because your book says it is big.
You don't compare it with 1.4 billion. You compare it with the 4 million taxpayers. Right? Out of that 23,000 millionaires. No, these are not small numbers.
There is in one of the parts that you talk about Jain told the Prime Minister the size of Indian economy, that paragraph in which you say the idea that business has no borders, it appeals to India's wealthy. It also appeals to India's policymakers today, that there are no borders. You want jobs, we have to create jobs. See, to win elections, Modi has to have, for the next election, you're talking about a 4th term, right? 4th term is like unheard of, right? For a 4th term, he has to create jobs. If he can't create jobs for them here, create jobs elsewhere. Kya farak padta hai?
That's one point of view. It's one point of view. I mean, it's your point of view. But unfortunately,
you don't agree with it.
I'm invested in building India. And I want India's talented, whether they are skilled laborers, skilled technicians, foremen, maestris, electricians, plumbers, or scientists, technologists, doctors. I want them to be here in this country and make India a better place to live in. How do I care if you get 10,000 people going to Taiwan? The government of India entered into an MOU with the government of Taiwan to export 10,000 people.
Yeah, why not? We'll make chips out. They learn how to do it and then come back and make chips.
They are not coming back. If they will learn how to make chips, they'll stay on and...
Kaun bola na? These guys who went and created in America, they've come back. So many of them have come back. Okay,
they work for American companies in India, the so-called GCCs. The media keeps talking about GCCs in Bangalore, Hyderabad, Global Capability Centers. All of them are servicing American companies. In fact, Smita, I have a chapter in my book titled Indians in MAGA.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Indians are participating in making America great again. All these, thousands and thousands of Indians working in Bangalore and Hyderabad in these GCCs are working mostly for American companies and are making the American economy globally competitive.
Yeah.
I want them to make the Indian economy globally competitive.
Right. This is the article that I was saying when I was researching on your book. So when I was researching, this is now... NRIs returning to India, how non-resident Indians can plan for income tax changes, foreign assets repatriation, switching jobs for smooth transfer. So now here, just the top part, later is all the guidelines, which banks also bring out these guidelines and things like that, that if you're coming, here are the tax laws, here's how much money you will need per year. All those are advisories, right? Just the first paragraph. What once seemed unthinkable, even absurd, is now a growing reality. Indians long nestled in the abundant comforts of life abroad are actively seeking a way back home. A rising number of non-resident Indians are eyeing a return, some by choice, others by necessity.
When I see these news stories, I keep asking journalists, you say a growing number, a rising number, boss, give me data.
No data. That's true.
Give me data.
Data is not there.
So, what are these numbers?
So till the data doesn't come, we have only anecdotal references.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, we know that the numbers of those going out is increasing, admitted by the government itself. We have official data, right? And we know that we are entering into contracts with other governments, whether it's the government of Israel or government of Taiwan. The government of India is entering into contracts to export labor out of India. So all I'm drawing attention to is, we are losing out on this trained manpower. And this is an issue.
Okay, suppose we don't have chip manufacturing at the scale that we should, but we have the engineers. So what is the solution, Dr. Baru, today, like in 2025? Should we just say, tum bahar nahi jaoge, band karo?
No, that you can't. We are a democracy.
Correct.
Though we try to prevent people from doing many things, this certainly nobody is going to prevent. People want to leave India. If they can't go legally, they are going illegally, right? The donkey routes and all of that. So you can't prevent people from going. All you can do is to focus on the problem and say, okay, I recognize there's a problem. What can I do to deal with it? And I keep quoting to you the Prime Minister who said ease of living, mission for ease of living. I want to know what is it the government can do in the next 4 years of its term, since you are talking about a fourth term. If you want a fourth term, next 4 years, what are the things that the government can do to make ease of living in India, improve the ease of living in India? Set it out. Let us know the agenda. And if this book forces somebody to talk about that, I'd be happy.
I want ease of living for people who want to stay here. I don't want ease of living as a carrot for people not to leave the country. That's my view. Your view is different.
But people, I'm not.
My views are same.
I'm sorry. तुमको जाना है निकलो तो कैसा भी जा रहे हैं.
Get out.
So my point is, why should the government help them? That is one point number one, which is what we are doing, in a sense, actually encouraging people to go. But apart from that, my point is, it is incumbent upon the government to retain talent in the country. I keep repeating this again and again, we are a low middle income country that aspires in the next 25 years to become a developed country. You cannot do that if the talent that you produce leaves your country. If the wealth that you create leaves your country.
Okay.
That has to be stopped, and that has to be a government's objective.
Okay. We've talked about Indians going abroad. Now let's get to that part about you saying, talking about the Indians who don't want to be part of the India story, who's you cheered Modi, but they don't want. And I'm going to quote, I can't miss the snark in this. None of the middle class folk who cheered Modi in London, Houston, or elsewhere around the world seem interested in returning to Modi's Bharat. Their nationalism is restricted to raising slogans hailing the motherland while being happily settled overseas. Then you go on to say that without any sense of guilt or regret that they have opted to live far away from Bharat Mata. Why should they have guilt or regret about living abroad?
No, I don't want them to have either guilt or regret if they have seceded from India and living abroad. But this whole thing of Bharat Mata ki jai, of saying, oh, India is no longer India, it's Bharat, and we are all so proud. Come back to Bharat, na?
Why?
You want India to become the most developed country in the world. You want India to be number one. That is what you aspire for. How can that be? How can you contribute to that living in Houston?
Why not?
Or living in New Jersey?
Well,
you are not. You are making America great again. You know, there is the fact that Indians today working in the United States are highly educated. In fact, all the studies show, and I quote Devesh Kapoor's excellent work, all the studies show Indians are among the best educated in the United States of all the immigrant communities, even compared to
China.
China, and certainly compared to Americans. Right?
Okay.
So you are highly educated. Come back. You want Bharat Mata to be something great.
So you don't have a problem with them raising the slogans of Bharat Mata ki jai. You're saying, if you say Bharat Mata ki jai, come back.
Yes, I mean, you have pride in my country. Why are you not in my country? I have pride in my country. I work in my country.
You know, isn't that
that is what nationalism is. I'm sorry, Smita. That is what nationalism is. When we speak of nationalism, what do we mean by national? And that is the core ideology of the current ruling regime.
So kids are in school, their wives have jobs, and the wife sometimes, a spouse has a job. So the woman should just leave her family, come back and build India because she said Bharat Mata ki jai.
Because she believes in Indian nationalism. What does the slogan mean? I mean, it's not saying good morning, good evening, good night. When you say Bharat Mata ki jai, you are praising the greatness of your motherland.
Okay.
Right? You are talking about Bharat Mata.
Right?
तो उसका जय जय कर रहे तो न्यू जर्सी में बैठ के क्यों कर रहे हो भाई?
Why not?
वापस आ जाओ ना.
I still can't get it. Why not? Why not be happy that you had some origin, some.
What is your contribution? What is your contribution to Bharat Mata becoming, what it is today? What is your contribution?
The fact that you've gone.
It's just vicarious pleasure.
About what? That India is doing well?
Yeah, so I'm sitting abroad, India is doing well, so I'm very happy. People around me say, oh, you're from India, India is doing well. Yeah, but what the hell are you doing to make India a better place?
Would you really, Dr. Baru, like the Indian to say, chi, what, I'm so glad I left India and came. Look at them, they throw garbage on the road, they do potty on the road.
That is what most of them say.
So then what is making you happy? Whether they criticize India or whether they say Bharat Mata ki jai? Both are not okay.
What is not happy? What is making me unhappy is that they're happy to criticize India. They're happy to tell the world we have left this country. After all, how does a foreigner look at you? How did Donald Trump look at these Indians whom he was deporting? The scum of the world?
They broke the law, they had to go out. That is their
They have broken the law. But what is their attitude? What does an Englishman say to even those who are legally in the United Kingdom? They say, you guys talk about British imperialism, but you're all happy to live in Britain. Right? Every Indian living outside India, the message is that where I'm living now is a better place to live than where
That's
I came
an immigrant
from.
story for every immigrant.
Yes.
Right?
So that's what I'm saying, that we are talking about. See, if you didn't have this sense of nationalism, and in fact, I quote Theresa May somewhere in the book where she says, if you're a citizen of the world, you're a citizen of nowhere, right? So you say, I'm a citizen of the world. I'm not particularly happy that India is doing well. I'm happy that whichever country in the world is doing well. But when you are expressing your sentiment about Bharat Mata and going and hailing the leadership of this country, that leadership is trying to build this country. That leadership is building this country. So come back and help that leadership build this country. Why sit in Surrey and in Suffolk? Come back to Punjab and to Haryana and to Hyderabad and to Bengaluru and come back and build this country. That is my message to the expatriates.
Okay, my thing with the expatriate is why should they give up the kind of life they had and come back, the kind of life that they are leading? It's unfair to expect all of them to just say, okay, just because you are feeling patriotic and nationalistic, leave your life and come back. I feel that we should create in our country circumstances which make it favorable for people to come back out here. My thing is that.
Sita, in the 1950s, when India was a poorer country, when living in India was more difficult than living in London or in Paris or in New York, Indians came back.
Some Indians came back.
So I want those only some. The talent, we are talking about bringing back that talent, the brain drain that is happening. We want to resist
you're
that.
Talking about 150 to 200 people who came back.
Bring back 100.
A year.
Forget 150. Bring back 10. And give me those names. I've given you 5 names. Homi Baba.
But you're talking about a different period. Homi Baba Kabhi, Bhagwati Kabhi, Dr. Singh
Why
Kabhi.
did he come back? He could have lived in Paris. They could have lived in London. Why did they come back?
How many pharma industry could it have done what it did if those guys didn't come back and set up everything out here?
No, I'm sorry. Many of them studied here and set up their industries here. They went to acquire qualifications. Yes.
So even Bhagwati did that. Even Dr. Manmohan Singh did that.
Yes, of course. But that's what I'm saying. But that is not happening. That is not happening.
Okay.
Once you acquire the qualification, you acquire citizenship, you acquire a job and you stay back. How many Indians who go to the United States to study actually want to come back? How many are coming back? Let's get the data.
Data is not there.
If I'm proved wrong, I'll be the happiest person to be proved wrong. And if somebody is willing to get data and say, Sanjaya Baru, you're wrong, because actually more and more Indians are coming back than those are leaving, that reverse brain drain has started.
See, I don't have the data.
No, but the data is not available.
All the articles that I've read,
they don't give numbers.
That's what, they don't give numbers.
So they don't have the numbers.
So when we talk about these anecdotal references, many of the professionals that they talk about are those who have come back. There's also this whole bunch of, say, my generation Indians who went abroad, who are coming back because of aging parents. So there is another factor which is happening, that there are these NRIs who have aging parents, not enough healthcare facilities or elder care facilities. So that housing isn't there. So to take care of them, there are many reasons why people come back.
This is now a booming business.
Yeah.
And I have a section on that in the book on how elder care is now becoming a booming business.
Yeah.
Because these children are not actually moving home. They are coming, spending some time and going back and putting their parents in these, elder care places. I've been to many of these places and, you actually meet. I went to one home in Hyderabad where an elderly lady sitting in a wheelchair called me in Telugu and said, can you, connect me on this number, and gave me a number. And I took her phone and I connected her, and it was ringing. Nobody picked up. And I gave it back to her. And I asked her in Telugu, I said, who are you trying to call? Yeah, I'm trying to call my son. And it doesn't pick up the phone. So I looked at my watch, it was 11 in the morning. I said, ma'am, Amagaru, it's only 11 in the morning. That must be midnight in America. Maybe he's sleeping. She said, no, I've been calling since yesterday. Now, he has, of course, taken care of his mother. He lives in a nice old age home. But that business is growing. And I've given some, references in the book. Elder care business in Gurgaon, in Punjab, in Karnataka, in Andhra Pradesh, in Telangana. Elder care business is booming because of this.
Because of also elder care, also because housing is a crisis in our major metros. So to keep aging parents in your home, some people are opting for these. But NRI elder care is a big thing. Dr. Baru, you mentioned Hyderabad. Let me tell you, in 2024 election, I'd gone to cover the election there in Hyderabad. And I was in my hotel, in the breakfast area, I met with so many NRIs would come. So I thought they've come chutti manane ke liye. But I was like, why, So, and then they said, we've come to see the election. So I said, why would you come all the way, from America? They'd come from Texas, come to Hyderabad, and they were saying that we want to see this, we want to be part of this. So I said, you want to be part of Deepavali or something, I understand. But why election? They say, we went in the 70s. Our children are now in, 18-year-olds, they're in college. We've left everything here to become part of that life. We gave that because we wanted a better education and things like that for our children. And they are so woke, we don't recognize our children. We want to come back. And so we're coming back in spurts, coming back a little by little, coming once a year, coming twice a year, coming thrice a year. So there were these older generation people in their 60s and 70s and 80s, not 80s, 60s and 70s, who were exploring what it was like because they don't know their children anymore. Those children were 2 or 3 years old or 10 years old when they left. And they said they're so woke. The same education which they don't understand now because they are so rooted in their traditions.
You see, so problem, this is the... I know this phenomenon. We all come from a similar background. You are Bangalore, I'm Hyderabad. This is part of India that is emigrating, in the hundreds of thousands.
We were the black sheep who stayed back.
We were the black sheep who stayed back. But my point is, all these 60-year-olds, 70-year-olds who are coming back, they have devoted the best parts of their life in making America great again. MAGA. And now, retired life, they would like to come to India. I want young people in their 20s and 30s who have got a PhD, got excellent education, and I have no problem with people who go out to get excellent education, to then come back.
But these guys who are coming back, they are like pretty wealthy. They are not in the double edu situation.
True. But I'm saying, I have no problem if you want to go overseas and acquire the best education the world is in a position to offer if you can afford it. But then come back after that and then build institutions here, build research capacity here.
Okay. Get that. Let's move away from the business lot to foreign policy now. Where you were talking about, and I'm quoting from page 211, when you say there's a whole bunch of explanation about the Khalistani situation, etc., etc., and about Hindu nationalism, rise of Hindu nationalism. In this you write, the intertwining of domestic politics with foreign policy may yield short-term benefits, but would have long-term implications for how overseas Indians are viewed in different parts of the world. You are not too happy with domestic politics making its way into foreign policy. And you say the communalization of Indian outreach to the diaspora can in fact end up hurting the prospects of potential Indian emigrants and harming India's national interest. Expand, please.
See, I give several examples. One of the things which was said about Indians, and I've quoted from different studies in the United States.
Pardon me, I'm eating.
Was that, Indians are peace-loving, they're family-oriented, they're hardworking, they're highly educated. This was the public perception of a lot of people about Indians. And these are all from surveys. I mean, Devesh Kapoor has done a lot of work on this. That there was a positive view of Indians coming into the United States, which is why the United States became more and more liberal in giving visas. Then when you see these communities getting involved in various kind of political activity, you raise concerns there. And my point is, you're free to do that. I'm not criticizing the political activity of whether of Khalistani activists or any other group of political activists. But you are hurting my foreign policy.
You're talking about the Khalistanis hurting? Or you're talking about government of India?
No, I'm talking of groups like the Khalistanis.
Okay.
They are hurting my foreign policy, right?
Okay.
And that is not only the Khalistanis. You now have extreme Hindu nationalist activists, radical Hindu groups in the United States, in other countries, in Fiji, for example. So you are now creating communal. In Fiji, to give a good example, tension was always between ethnic Indians and ethnic Fijians. Now it's become between Hindus and other communities. So you're communalizing these relationships, which is not in my national
Hasn't
interest.
been going on since South Africa and Trinidad and Tobago for...
So in many countries it's been going on. That's what I'm saying. I mean, this is what even the foreign minister once said, that, in fact, the term NRIs as a bridge and a challenge. This comes from a lot of statements I've heard made even by the foreign minister, that it's not just that their diaspora was always seen as a bridge. And I give examples, extensive examples of how diaspora played the role of a bridge. I mean, when we are doing the nuclear deal with the United States, we use the diaspora actively.
Correct.
Right? But today it's becoming a challenge, whether it's in the relationship with the United Kingdom or the relationship with Canada or the United States. After all, they are your diaspora. They may belong to different communities, but they are your diaspora and they are becoming your challenge. And I think that is something which Indian diplomacy has to deal with. And I think encouraging these groups, which different political organizations may do for their own end, does not serve the national interest. And I think we have to recognize that India's strength internationally, and again you can quote as many people as you like, India's strength internationally is one of the few developing countries which has remained a democracy. And it is pluralism, secularism that has held this country together. And that was our strength. Unlike China, which is an authoritarian system, or other diverse countries internally divided, we were, what is the slogan? Unity in diversity. That was our strength. That was our kind of symbol we held to the world. And we need to preserve that and protect that, consciously address that challenge. It is coming up as a challenge and we cannot run away from that challenge. And I think the diaspora is, because it's, we use them as a kind of ambassadors of India, we are using the diaspora as our link to the rest of the world. They had to be convinced too that, look, you have to understand you're an Indian. Don't think of yourself as a Sikh or a Hindu or a Muslim. You're an Indian.
Interesting.
And that is...
I'll tell you, Dr. Baru, this, what you're talking about, don't think of yourself as a Sikh or a Hindu or a Christian or a caste. Caste is also important because that's now
indeed.
showing
Dalit
up.
organizations in the US.
Yeah. So, and even among, I think there must be 40 different Telugu associations, different Telugu associations.
So certainly Telangana and Andhra associations.
No, there are several of them.
Yeah.
There is the South Canara, North Canara, and all kinds of associations.
Exactly.
Okay, so they are divided and they have different identities. So there's the Indian identity, then there is the religion identity, then there's the caste identity, several identities of Indians. Now, I'm bringing this up simply because I have traveled with you when you were media advisor to Dr. Manmohan Singh. And I have covered the diaspora events, 15, 20, 30 diaspora events that Dr. Manmohan Singh went to, from Europe to America to everywhere. I've been with you. I've seen the diaspora events. Before that, I did cover Mr. Vajpayee, the diaspora events there, Bharati Vidya Bhavan and those kind of. Then when in 2014 Modi comes in and I covered a diaspora event, several of them, but the first one I did, I think, if I'm not mistaken, first one was in Bhutan or something. It was very small. But the first one, which was very overtly Hindu, was in Mauritius. In Mauritius, I saw them coming out in the open with all their religious thing and all that. And I was like, ye Prime Minister ke event pe itna deeply religious. I was a little taken aback that it would be so obviously. So I was like, okay, so if Hindu is then where is the Muslim? So where is the Christian? I'm still in my Amar Akbar Anthony's mood of, that agar Prime Minister ka event hai, to sab religion ka hona chahiye, sarvadharm. Because I've covered the earlier Prime Ministers, that used to happen. It didn't happen. So when I asked the locals, they said that, look, here they wear their nationalism towards India and their religious identity is one. You can't separate the two.
See, this has been manufactured. And I have referred to an excellent study of this, and I've given you the history of this. activism of the Vishwa Hindu Parishad, the Hindu Swayam Sevak Sabha, HSS, over the years, these groups have been active in 50 countries around the world. So, when you start mobilizing people for a prime ministerial event based on those identities, that is what harms the country. If you mobilize the crowd on the identity of India, that we have the Indian Prime Minister here, and we are all here to welcome the Indian Prime Minister, which is what would have happened in the past, that's different from saying we have now someone who represents the resurgence of Hinduism, and we are here as Hindus. That is the transformation
that
in
is
the
what
diaspora.
the NRIs are saying. Is it the fault of the...
No, I'm not holding anybody's fault. All I'm drawing your attention to is a phenomenon.
No, you are saying it's
No,
going
I'm
to
saying
be detrimental for India.
It is detrimental to Indian foreign policy. It is detrimental. Because the world no longer sees you as a plural secular democracy. I mean, I can go on and on this, but I think that is something which is certainly hurting us.
Okay. And I'm sure you have spoken about this to foreign policy mandarins. Do they also share the view?
Well, I've not spoken to any Mandarin, but I've certainly have a sense of thinking on these issues, and I think there is concern. There is concern. I mean,
another NRI event which you said, and of course I'll bring it up. I don't know whether you thought I'd bring it up or not. The audience at Miss Irani's event at Austerley, dutifully reported by BJP's favorite news agency, Asian News International, belong to an upwardly mobile. So why the snark, Dr. Baru?
Well,
why favorite
that's how
news
you're seen,
agency?
Smita. That's how you're seen.
That's how I am seen, or ANI seen?
ANI seen.
ANI seen.
So you got a brand problem. I mean, you may not have a problem. You may be quite happy with it, but that's a fact.
Okay. Explain to me that when you were advisor to a prime minister who was Congress, at that time ANI was covering the prime minister too.
Yeah, sure.
Right?
Sure.
And
but I don't think anybody accused you, ANI, at that time of being pro Manmohan Singh.
If you remember, I openly came to you and said that I'm a huge fan of Dr. Manmohan Singh.
No, that may be as an individual.
And in the movie that got made on Accidental Prime Minister, there is a question-answer session that is happening between a reporter and the Prime Minister, and said that, have you sold the country's interests during the 1-2-3 nuclear deal? And the Prime Minister replied in whatever the reply was, which is that I belong to a party which is of Nehru, we cannot sell in. That was actually an interaction which was my question to Dr. Manmohan Singh on board Air India One.
I remember you wrote to me about that.
Right?
Yeah.
That changed in the movie and it became that. But
that's
if
not
you,
incidentally in the book. So this is
Rajat
Sharma's edition.
If you Google today, you'll find that was a question that I asked.
Yeah, I remember
board.
you told me that.
Yeah. And so what I'm trying to say is that what did ANI, there were 4 or 5 people from NDTV who were part of the PMO of Dr. Manmohan Singh. Yeah. Not when you were advisor. There were several media advisors before
not
and after you.
Time.
Not in your time. When Pankaj Pachauri was there, and then there was 2 OSDs, if I'm not mistaken. There was so nobody at that time said that NDTV is a favorite and NDTV has a brand problem.
Well, you're talking about much later. It's UPA 2.
Doesn't matter.
No,
you have. I'm not saying you were the reason for it.
No, but that's not there. I'm talking of the perception today. And, you need to address that perception.
So, explain to me, covering a prime minister is something which is a duty of a news agency? PTI does it?
Yeah.
ANI does it? UNI did it? Varta did it? Everybody does it, right? Because the prime minister speaks. When the prime minister speaks, then the opposition leader speaks.
I know, Smita, but I think,
and this is not even Prime Minister, this is Smriti Irani.
No. Smita, that is a perception.
No, dutifully, I'm not letting you go.
I know. No, you don't have to let me go. But I'm repeatedly telling you, this is the perception. Now, it's up to you to deal with that perception. Right?
So this is hearsay?
No, it's not hearsay. That is a widespread perception.
Is it your perception or is it...
It's a media perception.
Media.
Media
So
perception.
you have spoken with media people who don't think
I don't have
ANI
to speak with anyone. You just read. I read. I sit at home and I read and read and read. And this is the perception.
So-
Now, you may not like that perception. That's a different matter, right? But that is the perception.
Okay,
and
so
what I'm writing
you are a
reflects the
scholar,
perception.
no, Dr. Baru. So when you make a whatever you say is based on data, is based like you're saying NRIs coming back. Data नहीं है, मैं कैसे बोलूँगा data नहीं है ना? तो when you are a scholar, you either base what you're writing on data or
So
a lived experience.
The data here is the manner
You
of
have
reporting.
taken me on Prime Minister trips more times as advisor to media advisor to as Prime Minister than there is no media advisor to the Prime Minister. So I have not been other than five times.
No, it's not about you. It's about the organization.
Okay,
That's a
organization.
perception.
Okay.
There is a perception. I mean, you.
So this is just snark.
This is not a snark. Come on.
This is
That's
just
not
snark.
fair.
So reporting on Smriti Irani at Austerley. So you pick up an ANI report. Would you pick up a PTI report? Would you pick up a PTI report?
No, but this is only one in the media.
You have picked up PTI reports in your
Yeah, but
article.
on that meeting, the only one was... There were no other media there.
In this, it's an event.
Yeah.
Not a meeting. It's an event which has happened.
Yeah, only
Now,
ANI.
there are other events.
Only ANI was present.
No, so if PTI doesn't do its job, is it ANI's fault?
No, but what is the job? A defeated BJP candidate coming to Austerley in the suburb of London, it's not an event.
Dr. Baru, if you go and address audiences in a conference and ANI reports on that, will I say that, "Arey, ye to former media advisor hai, kyun cover karna chahiye?" Is that how I do it? No. Dr. Baru has something to say which clients will use.
That's only when I write a book.
No.
I don't get covered if I just...
Smriti Irani speaking
go to
anywhere,
a group
Dr.
of
Baru.
people, middle-class Londoners, who... Come on, it's...
So, Smriti Irani...
You have to understand the relevance of that situation. It's not some Prime Minister addressing Wembley Stadium.
Sure.
Which is a legitimate activity for any news organization to cover. But, this was a kind of neighborhood...
you put in brackets Hindu Indians.
Yeah, because they're all... you'll read the speech, you read the event, you go and look at what... all of them, Bharat Mata ki Jai, Bharat Mata...
So Bharat Mata ki Jai only Hindu Indians,
come on.
No, and why, what is it that you have against somebody saying Bajrang Bali ki Jai?
I'm reporting a fact. Look, I have nothing for or against.
Okay.
But this is a fact. This is a fact that the mobilization of these groups is being done on communal basis. Yeah, Hindu organizations are active around the world, mobilizing Indians, and these events are all organized. That's a fact.
Okay.
So it's not as if I'm for it or against it. I'm writing...
It happens.
It happens.
If it happens...
And it's happening more and more.
So if it happens, it has to be reported. I'm not saying Smriti is doing a damn good job and Bajrang Dal activists are at her... Now, for example...
So, which is what you have done. I said dutifully reported.
But the snark is not missing. For example, if NTR wearing saffron robes goes to San Francisco and
we
addresses...
made fun of him. We made fun of him.
You made fun of him. But a news agency will only report.
Yes.
You, as an editor of Financial Express, right?
You're right. A news agency has to report. I'm not saying you should not report.
Next time, Dr. Baru,
all I'm saying
going to search for your next book, whether you pull up IANS, PTI, and
well, you can see
I'm
a loyal follower of ANI.
I'm waiting. The problem is that this is not a digital book where you can make the change and say that she berated me in her show. No, really. I don't expected better, and I was really upset.
I don't think I don't think you should have any qualms about.
No, you may not agree with Smriti's politics, and I'm not saying I agree with everything that she does or says. I interviewed Kanhaiya.
But this is nothing for or against Smriti either.
No.
I am referring to a phenomenon.
Okay.
And this is an important phenomenon. The mobilization of overseas Indians along religious lines is a phenomenon. I just give anecdotes. In almost every chapter, I have anecdotes. And that's a journalist in me. I do a book based on research, but there's a journalist in me where I like anecdotes because the anecdotes capture.
I get that.
Reality, right?
Yeah.
So this is an anecdote. But what it does is to capture the reality, which is now becoming increasingly visible, of the religious mobilization of the diaspora. And these are people, as I mentioned again in the book, who would happily say Bharat Mata, but will never come back to Bharat Mata. They are all participating in the development of Western economies. They are not participating in the development of my country.
Okay.
And I am a nationalist. I am an Indian nationalist who wants India to become a Viksit Bharat. I am fully with the current regime when it says, but 2047 we want to be Viksit Bharat. But stay here and build India.
The push and the pull that you talk about. Okay, nobody can argue with you on that. That you say you understand that the goal is right. The path that you think the government of India is taking is not exactly completely right, what you are saying, and the signs are there to show it that many of the things that it's doing is wrong. And as policy makers, they should read this to see what is it that they can correct if something wrong is happening. There are a couple of things which I want to talk to you about, which we this one about the lazy Indians, the lazy third generation who want to live abroad, settle abroad for education, lifestyle, business expansion, new opportunities. This is Ashley Coutinho's article in the Financial Express, which you quote. The high tax regime. Please talk to me about how the high tax regime is something that is dissuading Indians from coming back and is a reason for why competent Indians are leaving.
Well, you see, this is where I take the view that India's tax regime cannot be determined by people leaving India. And if you leave India because you don't want to pay taxes, well, then I would say farewell, please go. Because we are an unequal economy, unequal society. The government is obliged to spend money on social welfare and on development of infrastructure. And the tax-paying population as a percentage of the total population is still very small. We need to expand the base. But at the same time, the super rich, the wealthy, which is the high tax bracket, it is incumbent on them to contribute to the development of the country.
So inequality will only go if they stay.
I'm not saying, I'm saying in order to reduce inequality, the government has to spend money on public welfare, public infrastructure, public services. There's a lot of public spending that has to be done, right? And in order to do that public spending, whether it's on public education, public transport, public health, etc., governments need revenue. And we can criticize government for not spending that money wisely, for building roads that have potholes. That is our right as a citizen. But on the other hand, as a taxpayer, I have to understand that if I'm earning 5 lakhs a month or whatever, I'm obliged to pay 30% income tax. Because I live in the highest income bracket of this country. And the government of India, the governments in this country require those funds in order to address these concerns. So I'm not one of those who would advocate lower tax rates.
Okay.
Merely because people say, I'm leaving India because taxation is high. Well, fine, you leave India. But I don't think my advice to the finance minister would be, in order to get them back, reduce your tax rate. That I would not say.
Okay. Finally, you traveled so much with Dr. Manmohan Singh, met with Diaspora at that time. What was his view about the Diaspora and their role and what they should be doing back home for their country?
Well, you see, first of all, as he has quoted him, he recognized that the Diaspora is a global phenomenon. Which is the view taken by Atalji in the LM Singhvi committee report, that we have now this community of Indians, and the whole issue was, how do you encourage them to participate in India's development, right? That was the approach, that here are these people who have done well for themselves. What can we do, or what should we do to encourage them to participate in India's development? I think that was the general approach. that was the message that he would give whenever he spoke to these diaspora groups. I don't think there's any difference in the way in which successive governments approach the diaspora as far as this is concerned. I think the additional point I make about today is that our outreach has become narrower in terms of focusing on their religious identity. We don't reach out to all Indian diaspora as much as we reach out to one specific community. That's the change.
And people generally think that, Vajpayee ji was greatly loved by the diaspora. Modi ji is greatly loved. But there was a substantial portion of even the diaspora even then who huge fans of Dr. Manmohan Singh as well. Can you share us some anecdotes when these guys would come and want to meet with Dr. Manmohan Singh? Was he like patient? Was he... he's not somebody who would be very expressive. Anything that you
He's always patient. He's always patient. I remember there's one diaspora event in New York where we had 400 people.
Wanting to shake hands. I remember that.
You remember that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Where a diplomat forgot. Okay, and I'm not going into that. Okay. Huh.
But I remember at one point, he's getting tired. He had a long day and he was standing and shaking hands with one after another and after another. And at one point, I went up to him and whispered in his ear, saying, "Sir, if you're getting tired, we'll wind up." He said, "No." And he stood there till the last 400 person shook his hand.
There were American academics who also stood in line. A couple very famous think tankers who stood in line to shake hands for an hour. And you know how, because I'm a news agency, all the reporters went away. But I had to stay because I have to stay there. I have to record each and everything because God forbid if somebody faints or if somebody is tired or somebody is miffed, even that is a story for me. So for a news agency, I have to wait till the last person who has shaken hand and moved away. So my favorite diaspora story of Dr. Manmohan Singh, and I think I might as well say it today, it doesn't matter, was in Europe when this huge fan, clearly a wealthy lady, who somehow managed to move past the SPG and planted a kiss on his cheek.
Oh, I don't remember.
Yes. This was an EU summit and this happened and there was a flurry of activity and of course we were the only ones out there because he was just moving.
Maybe after my time.
It was like they say movement ho rahi hai. The Prime Minister was just going. And then they came and they said ki isko hatao, ye security lapse tha. They came in, don't release this is wrong. I said, okay, so we didn't release it.
Oh no, I wish.
But we had a long shot.
This SPG doesn't understand these things.
Yes, but it was a long shot.
It would have been a lovely photograph.
It would have been a good photograph. But I think there's one cameraman, if I'm not mistaken, a Doordarshan cameraman who had a better view, better angle. We had the back shot. So there was this really nice portly lady who charged towards and he was like flabbergasted. So then I came aside and I was like, what happened and all that. And the SPG people were so flustered and he was grinning from ear to ear because he was like, ye kya ho gaya?
A long time since you would have been kissed by
But this was one of the diaspora events which were very, very... no, it wasn't a diaspora event. Sorry, this was just one of those movement wala events. But his diaspora event was kind of milder compared to the other. And the Vajpayee's era diaspora events were like, again, his speeches were amazing. Very natural.
Vajpayee is an amazing man. Look, he was a great man. Right? There's no question about it. And even today, two people I watch a lot on all these reels and Facebook and all this social media. Speeches of Vajpayee ji in Parliament and Lalu in Parliament. Lalu is absolutely humorous. You can laugh again and again at his performance. But the sagacity and wisdom and gentleness of Mr. Vajpayee, he was something else.
And of Dr. Manmohan Singh, during Vajpayee's era when we would cover some of these multinational events and we would be there and saying हमारे Prime Minister को कोई पूछ ही नहीं रहा है because India was nowhere on the scene, not because of Mr. Vajpayee but because we didn't matter. We didn't matter at all. And I used to feel so let down कि यार why? That General Musharraf was fated in America, and Hamara Prime Minister, he was not there.
Musharraf was their ally.
Yeah.
Yeah, has always been. And now Mr. Asim Munir is their ally.
Right? And then Dr. Manmohan Singh came, and I still remember President Obama was in one corner of the room, and he charged across the room to shake hands with Dr. Manmohan Singh, and they spoke. And there were many Asian leaders when that crisis happened in the economy. There were many leaders who came to ask him ki kya kare bhai, Indonesia and the others.
Actually, that was a turning point. 2008, 2009, the financial crisis.
Yeah.
Because he went very well prepared for the first G20 meeting, which was in Washington. And the second one was in London. And I remember both, he went extremely well prepared, and being an economist, he understood what was happening. And so his speeches were actually listened to. And I remember Obama went from that London meeting to Germany. And in Germany, he was addressing school children. And one of them asked him a question, we all admire you. Who do you admire? And Obama said, I admired Prime Minister Manmohan Singh. So I think he had left a tremendous impression on Obama because of that particular crisis and addressing. And I must compliment the people around him at that time, whether it was Montek or Dr. Rangarajan, Bimal Jalan. I remember Bimal Jalan was one of the earliest people to warn Dr. Manmohan Singh that this financial crisis is building up. We need to understand what's happening. So he had a lot of these people around him, studying what was happening. And so he went extremely well prepared for those G20 meetings.
So, today I can give it out in the public because I guess it's okay. Dr. Manmohan Singh is also no more and time has passed by. But at that time, I remember talking to you after the G20 and asking you that, oh my God, all these leaders are coming and, they're asking, why don't you project him better? Why don't you, because the Diaspora was a Thanda event at that time, whereas all these leaders were coming. And you said, I'm a salesman of a BMW car. Don't need to.
Don't need to. Also, I was under instructions not to over-promote him. That was not a problem.
Okay. Whose instructions?
That I've written about. His instructions. He didn't want too much publicity. He kept telling me, bas hai. I keep putting out stuff. And so he was underplaying himself, which was...
Not right, no? As Prime Minister also, you're not just an individual, you're Prime Minister of a country which is desperate to push ahead.
Yeah. No, I know.
Maybe in hindsight, do you think
he was humble.
That humility, that wanting not to come up on stage, always be on the sidelines, that didn't work? That
was his personality. He was not a politician, so he was not looking for public kind of approbation. He was happy doing his job. That's what I've written.
So I would say, immediately, aage aa jao na, kyun side mein khade ho? I'm looking at it from a camera lens. That my Prime Minister is in one corner. In my lens, in the center of focus,
these days I see on social media people comment where Manmohan Singh in some group and quietly standing alone, and Prime Minister Modi is there with 3-4 people chatting. People, put out such photographs these days and make fun of Dr. Manmohan Singh. What they don't realize is that was his personality. That was how he was. And, some people admire that aspect of him. But, when you're in politics, politicians, by and large, want to project themselves, want to appear bigger than they are. And then we now live in a world of, 24-hour media coverage. So politicians have an exaggerated role. I mean, look at Donald Trump. Fellow is on Twitter half the time. So you are now dealing with politicians who are seeking publicity. But he was not someone...
But he was the other extreme.
He was the other extreme. I agree.
Both he and ma'am, Gulsharan Kaur. She also was...
if he was subdued, she had to be subdued.
Yeah. I remember that when President Obama and Michelle Obama had that banquet, and Michelle Obama came in this orange color, outfit, probably thinking that it's Indian color, bright color or something like that. And she was talking about her outfit. I think she did this, and she said something to Gulsharan ji. And there wasn't any change in Gulsharanji's expression. Nothing. No talk, no expression change at all. And we used to, as journalists, keep saying that the only time Dr. Singh looks happy when he's with a head of state is with Bush and then with Obama. There was this special relationship he had with George Bush. Yeah. Isn't it? There was that personal rapport that the two of them have.
And Bush was good to India. I mean, whatever his role in the rest of the world, he was certainly good to India.
Yeah. You saw the nuclear deal at that time.
Yes, I was there.
You were there.
Yeah. And I met President Bush after that, when he was no longer the president. And I said to him, I said, you did India good. As an Indian, I should thank you. So I said, oh yeah, I broke a lot of China.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
Very, very smart.
Oh yeah, I broke a lot of China to do that.
When you look back, do you look at those years you were with Dr. Singh as something that you cherish?
Yes.
You do.
Of course.
But when the book came out at that time, there was this comment, but then everybody said, "Ye to sirf press ke liye comment hai." There's no way that Dr. Baru can write anything without Dr. Singh having read it, okayed it.
No, he didn't read it. He didn't okay it. The only thing, as I've written an afterword to a paperback edition. But I told him I'm writing a book. He knew I was writing a book. He never asked me, what are you writing? And I was quite surprised that he never asked me. And then I myself added, saying that, there's Mao Zedong had a principle that if anything is 70% good, 30% bad, then it's good. So I said, sir, my book is 80% positive, 20% negative on you. And he just smiled. He didn't ask what 20% negative, what 70% positive, what have you written, nothing. He just smiled.
Is it right to say that Sanjaya Baru is the son that Dr. Manmohan Singh never had?
No. I think Montek was the son that he never had.
Okay.
I think he was very fond of Montek.
And you, when you got that job offer from him to be a media advisor, did that come as a surprise to you or what?
Yeah, that came as a total surprise. I think I've written about that in my book. That was it just so happened that
it's 2014. People might forget.
Yeah, 2004 I was celebrating my 50th birthday. And I got the call actually from NN Vora saying that, you're going to get a call from the PM. So he alerted me. And then, of course, I got the call and I was surprised. But I enjoyed the opportunity.
Yeah, but is it something that... See, it's never happened again in the sense that ever since the past 11 years, the BJP government, rather Mr. Modi's relationship with the media is such that there's nobody from the media in a PMO, which was not the case either in the Vajpayee PMO nor in Dr. Manmohan Singh's PMO. There were several people from the media. But Mr. Modi has had a adversarial relationship, should I say, as chief minister with the media. And he's suspicious of the media even after he became prime minister. You can see that. But in spite of that, the media is seen to be Godi media. The opposition keeps saying that the media, even though he has nobody from the media. And actually, if you see even his close associates, the close, ministers and the top echelons of government, they don't have any former journalists working with them. In spite of that, the media is labeled like that. As a media advisor, somebody who has seen media and a practitioner of media for several years, what do you see? How do you see this?
I don't know. Look, honestly, I'm out of touch. Having left media in 2011, it's now 14 years since I stopped being a journalist. And there's a whole new generation. I mean, these days I meet people whom must have been in school when I was an editor last. So there's a whole new generation and I don't know many of them. The one thing I can share with you is that soon after I became Prime Minister, there was some journalist whom many of us expected would become media advisor to the Prime Minister Modi. And then I ran into him somewhere and I said, what? I thought you were going to get my job. So he said, you destroyed my career by writing your book. because you wrote that book, no prime minister will ever have a journalist as a media advisor. Because we journalists tend to keep notes and write books and write articles. He said, I don't think any politician would want. Anyway, I mean, that aside, I don't know. I don't know how it all operates today. And you don't need a journalist in the Prime Minister's office to be able to influence the media. How do they do it? I don't know.
Okay. All right. Okay. On that note, thank you so much, Dr. Baru, for coming here. So for viewers and listeners, do pick up this book, Secession of the Successful.
Thank you.
The Flight Out of New India. Eminently readable, and it's an easy read. It won't take you long, and it's been lovely having you here on the podcast. Thank you. Thank you for watching or listening to this edition of the NR podcast with Smita Prakash. Do like or subscribe on whichever channel you have seen this or heard this. Namaste. Jai Hind. Click here to watch the previous episodes.